The heartbreaking choice Grace Kelly made that changed cinema forever. I can still feel the weight of that phone call echoing through history, the moment when one of Hollywood's brightest stars made a decision that would haunt her forever. Picture this, it's 1962. 6 years have passed since Grace Kelly traded her golden curls and camera lights for a tiara and the gilded cage of Monaco's palace. The world watched in awe as America's sweetheart became Princess Grace, but what they didn't see was the actress slowly dying inside her royal skin. Then came the call that would change everything. Alfred Hitchcock, the master of suspense himself, the man who had crafted her into cinema royalty with Dial M for Murder, Rear Window, and To Catch a Thief, was on the line. His voice carried that familiar British accent, but this time it trembled with excitement. "Grace," he said, "I've written something extraordinary. A role that's yours and yours alone. Marnie." The script sat before her like forbidden fruit. As I imagine her fingers tracing the pages, her heart must have raced with that old familiar thrill. Here was Hitchcock offering her the lead in what promised to be another masterpiece, a psychological thriller about a troubled woman with a mysterious past. He had crafted every line, every scene, with Grace Kelly in mind. The studio executives were practically salivating. The press was already buzzing with anticipation. Headlines screamed about the triumphant return of Hollywood's lost princess. For the first time in years, Grace felt that electric surge of purpose coursing through her veins. But in the ornate halls of the prince's palace, storm clouds were gathering. The whispers started like a gentle breeze but quickly became a hurricane of judgment. "Unroyal," they hissed. "Undignified. A princess doesn't parade herself on screen for the world's entertainment." The very people who had celebrated her fairy tale wedding now turned their backs, scandalized by the mere thought of their princess returning to her craft. I can see her now, standing in those magnificent palace rooms that had become her beautiful prison, torn between two worlds that refused to let her exist in both. The actress in her yearned for the camera's embrace, for the creative collaboration with Hitchcock, for the chance to disappear into another soul and tell stories that mattered. But the princess, oh, the princess bore the weight of an entire nation's expectations. The pressure mounted. Palace advisors spoke in hushed, urgent tones. The press of Monaco painted dark pictures of what her return to Hollywood would mean for the principality's reputation. Her husband, Prince Rainier, found himself caught between his wife's dreams and his duty to the crown. And Grace, brilliant, talented, aching Grace, was slowly suffocating under the weight of their disapproval. The night she made her decision, I imagine her alone in her private chambers, staring at the Mediterranean moon that had witnessed so many royal sacrifices before hers. Her hands shook as she reached for the telephone. The numbers seemed to dial themselves, each digit a step further away from the woman she used to be. When Hitchcock answered, his voice bright with expectation, Grace could barely speak through her tears. "Alfred," she whispered, and in that single word lay the death of 1,000 dreams. "I can't do it. I can't take the role." The silence on the other end was deafening. Here was the master of suspense, rendered speechless by the greatest plot twist of all, losing his muse not to another director, not to scheduling conflicts, but to the crushing weight of royal duty. "Grace," he started, but she cut him off. "You don't understand," she sobbed, her voice breaking like crystal hitting marble. "They're calling it unroyal. The palace, the people, they won't accept it. I've disappointed them enough just by wanting it." Through her tears, she spoke words that would echo through the decades. "This is the hardest no of my life, Alfred. You wrote this for me, and I'm throwing it away. I'm throwing away everything I ever was." Hitchcock, this giant of cinema, was reduced to comforting a broken woman over 3,000 miles away. He knew he wasn't just losing an actress, he was witnessing the final burial of Grace Kelly beneath the marble tomb of Princess Grace. The role went to Tippi Hedren instead. Marnie was made, but it was never the same film it could have been. Grace watched from her palace as another woman spoke the words written for her, lived the character crafted from her essence. Years later, in a rare moment of vulnerability, Grace would confess to friends the truth that cut deeper than any crown could. I didn't lose that part. I gave it up, for a role I never auditioned for, being Grace of Monaco. But here's the twist that would make Hitchcock himself proud. In sacrificing her artistic soul, Grace Kelly created her most enduring performance of all. She became a living masterpiece, a woman who chose duty over desire, who transformed personal heartbreak into public service, who proved that sometimes the greatest acting happens when the cameras stop rolling. The princess who never returned to Hollywood became more cinematic than any role she ever played. Her sacrifice wasn't just personal, it was a love letter to an entire people, written in the ink of abandoned dreams. That's the Grace Kelly story they don't tell you, not the fairy tale wedding, but the fairy tale ending. The one where the princess saves everyone except the part of herself that made her who she was. Subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more incredible stories to come.